Hello, hello. Thank you for checking in. It is Thursday, Stupid Question Day, a regular feature of Live with Lorielle New, where I put on the genius cap to answer any question about any topic in the entire universe. Guaranteed accuracy. I put on the genius cap. That's YouTube starting. If you're watching on YouTube, that is how long the lag is. Pretty quick, only about 20 seconds or so. Let me say hello to everybody. Allura Star and Shocker and Sturgis Guy and Thesis and House of Dave and Sam and St. Clinton and Eric and Petey and Tim and Ryan and Photo and Philip Chandler and Mark Mean and Star Raven and Angie Tomlinson and Fairies Lover and Lucky Girl and Azure Yusuf and the Cram and Marcel and Jim Dandy and Sturgis Guy and Thesis and House of Dave and Sturgis Guy and Bill Knaus and Scott Kimmis and Joe Barney and Red Stapler and John McCain and Terry Sue and Brett and Blair Cooper and hello and hi Blair and Brett and Terry Sue and N1QOV and Boot and Swede and Jay Dahlman and Cosmic Joe and Sam and St. Clinton and Philip Chandler. I think that's everybody. And Wing Doggy. Did I miss anyone? Let me check. And then sad announcement. Hello everybody. So I'm sure you all probably know, but sad announcement today. Before I start with stupid questions, I wanted to just take a moment to send condolences and love and share our collective shock and grief and memories and love and years of enjoyment that we've all had for Prince. He's surprisingly died suddenly today. Nobody knew. I don't know why. They haven't released it, but if he was ill, if there was something wrong, or if it was just a fluke, like sometimes people die of the flu. We don't know what happened, but he was only 57. He just performed like a week ago. And I think a week ago he had the flu, but he said he was fine. And so I don't know what happened, but it's very shocking because he seemed fine. Yes. And apparently he was at his home, his compound, his giant Prince Palace, and he has an elevator in it, and apparently he passed out or collapsed in his elevator, and at some point somebody found him, and he was dead. So that is just shocking. I mean, so I don't know. And, 57 isn't that old. And if he had any health problems, nobody was aware of it. But anyhow, I want to send a big shout out to our friend Marcel. Marcel is, Prince, everybody he's been around for a very long time, and he's such a unique and extremely talented performer. So I think everybody kind of knows his songs and has listened to his music over the years, but Marcel is the biggest Prince fan in the world. He's seen many of his concerts, and that is the high point of his year when he gets to see Prince perform. So a special shout out to our friend Marcel, who is feeling this very deeply today and is full of grief. So Marcel, we're sending you love. We all loved Prince too, and it's shocking. Marcel says the Purple Army is big and supportive to each other. And you said he was at a baseball game. He just performed like last week. Angie said she heard about this in the morning. And he went, yeah. So, well, last week he had his private plane He performed, and then his private plane made an emergency landing because he apparently had the flu, or at least that's what they said. And then he performed after that, a couple of days after that, told the audience he was fine. I think he made... Yeah, he performed, told the audience he was fine. I don't... Yeah, Blair says this seems to be the year that the music died. It's true. David Bowie, Prince, and David Bowie had did he have cancer or something? And he didn't tell anyone. Only the closest people around him. David Bowie was still showing up for events and being David Bowie, and had been fighting, I think it was cancer, right? And he didn't tell anyone. He didn't want his fans to know. And Prince, and I don't know if Prince had any long-term health problems that he didn't want anyone to know about, but his 57 is very shocking for somebody who's so active and fit and stuff. Sam says, all I know is that man could shred the guitar. Yes, he brought a whole new sound to music and a new look, a new fashion sense that was only Prince. Hi, Wing Doggy. Hi, and Angie Thomason, we're very glad to see you. We've missed you. I hope you're well. Oh, Blair Cooper says, oh, yeah, there's a whole bunch. Blair Cooper says, not just David Bowie, but Glenn Campbell, who had Alzheimer's, Glenn Frey, Prince, Merle Haggard. There's probably more that we're forgetting about. Yeah, Angie says the doves are crying for real this time. So, yeah, so, and hi, Red and Wing Doggy. Marcel just put a YouTube link for a crying dove if anyone wants to check that out. So yeah, so collective shock and surprise and grief. Yeah, I think everyone was shocked because he literally was performing on stage a week ago and said that he was fine. Well, obviously he wasn't fine. But I don't know, sometimes, the flu is deadly and can be deadly. I mean, there's thousands of people who die every year from the flu. Jim Henson died of the flu. The little girl from Poltergeist died of the flu. It can overwhelm your system. So, I mean, sometimes even just like a cold, the flu can be deadly. So I don't know what happened, but it's a shock and a surprise from somebody who's relatively young still. Oh yeah, and China just died too, which seems odd. I wonder what happened. I don't know if they haven't released any cause, but Marcel says many diseases have flu-like symptoms. That's true too. So we'll find out once they get autopsy releases. But yeah, China, the wrestler who hasn't really been in public for the last 5 or 6 years. I've met her in person once, but at an event. And she was only 45, I guess, and died apparently in her sleep or something, which is odd. You're like, wonder what. I'm wondering if that might have been as a result of different performance drugs she may have used during her career as a wrestler. Some of those things damage your heart. And this is, it might be drugs. Yeah, who knows? You know, so anyhow, so it's been a very surprising year. Sturgis guy says, I hope I die in my sleep and not screaming in terror like the passengers in my car. Yes. So anyhow, so Sturgis guy, that's a good. We want to. Anyhow, I don't want to focus on pain because I am here. I am here to bring a smile or some happiness in the midst of all this stuff. That is my mission. Spread some positivity. So we are going to do Stupid Question Day. We got to cheer up Marcel and everybody else who's feeling some pain. So, and Sturgis guy, about those passengers in your car. I've heard that joke before. That's funny. Oh yeah, Marcel needs to. If you don't already have one, Marcel, today is the day to wear your velvet jacket, your velvet blazer. You might have to go to a vintage shop somewhere to find one. Sturgis guy says he's actually wearing his velvet underwear. However, he just put that on because he likes to wear them on Thursday, before you even found out about Prince. So, interesting coincidence. Sam says, who's China? The female wrestler with dark hair, Joni Lunar. Joni. No, I'm not saying, it's not Lunar, it's Joni. Something like Lunar, but a little different. Oh, Blair Cooper says, Blair Cooper says, oh, he has the first stupid question for today. Blair Cooper says, having watched The Pit and The Pendulum last night, are you specifically cast in roles that need a hot-looking woman to strangle someone for a particular reason? Blair says, you have strangled people in 3 different roles, right? Well, I know I've killed people in a lot of movies. I've never counted. Joni Lauer. Thank you, David Jones. Yes, I want to get that right. Joni Lauer is China's real name. She was very tall, very muscular, WWF female wrestler. Sam says he's never heard of her. I'm sure you have. You're just forgetting her name. I'm sure you've seen her pictures over the years. Marcel says, Sturgis guy, that's too much information. Oh, Linda asked the first question. How is my foot? My foot is fine. I'm just in my house, so I take the boot off, and I'm okay to have the boot off in my house. Yeah, my foot. I've barely left the house. I haven't done any walking really since the weekend. Just a tiny bit. I've tried to just take it easy to let it settle. So I've been very gentle with it. Marcel says, "Can you play the piano with such a foot?" No, actually, Marcel. But to be honest, I never could play the piano with my foot. I use my hands. No, Marcel is teasing because there's pedals. There's pedals on the bottom. I've never used my feet to play the piano. Though I think I've seen a video online of somebody who was born without hands, without arms, and does everything with their feet, because because she only had feet, she's learned to use her feet like hands, and the muscles in her feet are different than the muscles in your feet, because she's her entire life she's been using her feet as hands, so she has more control and is able to do things, little like small things, pick things up and do things with her feet, including playing the piano, driving a car, her, yeah, and work on her computer. But over the years of always, since she was a little baby, doing everything with her feet, obviously her legs are super flexible, like Cirque du Soleil flexible. Her toes are like fingers. They've got a flexibility that none of us have developed in our toes. Yeah, so Blair says, do you play the piano? Not really, no. I learned to play like 2 or 3 songs when I was a little kid, but I don't think I've touched a piano since 6th grade. So yeah, there's a lot of people who have, you know, if there's babies born without arms because of some sort of birth defect, around the world, that have learned to do everything in life with their feet, which is weird looking, but also kind of amazing how they've learned to develop their feet like fingers. The same way, like, you know, when you're missing something, like some people who are blind, but can, their sense of hearing and their sense of smell and touch gets so much stronger because they have to use it in a different way. The brain is amazing in that it helps people adapt. Yeah, so it's pretty amazing how people can adapt, and it shows us that we have a lot more potential, physically and mentally and everything, to do things that we don't know we can do, that we've never trained ourselves to do. Now, it's kind of hard as a grown-up old person to learn how to do some of these things because, well, your joints and muscles and your body gets stiffer and harder to move. But if you've started as a child, it's much easier because those muscles, the same way. I mean, think about it. You had to learn how to write when you were like in 1st grade, and remember how your writing, like when you're little, was like you have to learn how to control those muscles. It's like your first writing is like you could barely hold a pencil. Your crayon, you had it. Your first crayons when you were 4, you're like, it was in your fist and you're just doing like this. So the same way. And David Jones says, what was the, how do you find those pizzas? Oh, the gluten-free pizza I was talking about, David Jones, is smartflowerfoods.com. For anyone who was wondering, David wanted to know the website. You have to go on their website and try and find out where they're sold in your area. Oh, and Sam says some of that was a result of a drug that was a drug that a now banned drug, but a previous drug from decades past that pregnant women were exposed to, called thalidomide, which ended up causing a lot of birth defects. David Jones says it's called thalidomide. Thalidomide. Oh, David Jones says, yeah, Will there be any left for the rest of us? Yes, I've only eaten 4. So there's more. There's more, David Jones. There's a whole bunch more pizzas left for you. So yes, it's stupid question day. I have the genius cap on to answer. Oh, Sam has a stupid question. Sam says, okay, how much does a square of architecture shingles cost? I mean, 1 square? 1 square? Or a whole, like, packet? One square, Sam, of architecture shingles costs 99 cents. Marcel says he only eats real pizzas. Marcel, well, I don't know if they have them internationally because it's a new, smaller pizza brand. It's carried in. They're getting into some. So I don't know if they've gone international yet. But these are gluten-free pizzas. They use ancient grains like amaranth and teff or ceph. Oh, David Jones says, what was the website again? www.smartflowerfoods.com. You can look it up. But they use, actually, a lot of the stuff they do, Marcel is in the Netherlands, and Europe has different food rules, stronger food rules for a lot of stuff than we have. So it might, I think a lot of things are, I don't know if you're, I think GMOs, are GMOs allowed even in Europe? I think a lot of Europe is GMO free, like it's illegal to use genetically modified foods. And I'm pretty sure that hormones for like cows and animals, RGBH, like I think that's illegal in Europe too. But this is free of the hormones, free of genetically modified. It's free of gluten because they use old-fashioned grains. They don't use the hormones. The pepperoni is nitrate-free. Nitrate is part of what they use in the curing process. It's nitrate-free. So I don't know if those things are even legal in Europe. It might not even be a problem. But here, some of those things are legal. So you want to look for things specifically that don't have all that bad stuff. Yes, Marcel says, yeah, GMOs are not allowed. David Jones says, looks like you can buy it everywhere. Well, and when I looked, they actually have six different kinds. But when I went to stores that they were supposed to carry, some of them had only 3, some of them had 2. So it was hit or miss. Like I was trying to find as many flavors as I could, and I had to go to a bunch of different stores because, as you know, shelf space is one of those things that shelf space is they only give a certain amount of shelf space for like new smaller brands, and like a bigger brand will have a more shelf. Oh. Yeah, Marcel says, yeah, they're trying to pass laws. The big food companies are trying to use their influence to get foreign countries to make it possible that they can sell genetically modified foods in countries. They are spending a lot of money trying to get countries to change their laws, which to me sounds very sketchy. When you're a company who sells food and you're spending a lot of money to lobby politicians in the country to change a policy so that you can sell their food. That seems like you're kind of interfering with the government for your own profit, doesn't that? And that's what they do here too. But now they're trying to go to other countries, not just our country, but spread it around the world. Yeah, Marcel says he doesn't like to buy anything with a label that says made in the USA because it's made here. It has things that are allowed that aren't allowed. I've talked about this before, that aren't allowed in their country, like chemicals and preservatives and additives and all kinds of weird stuff that are illegal there. And companies say, oh, we have to be profitable to make it this way, but that's not true. In fact, that the case, I've said this before about McDonald's. The McDonald's French fries have in the U.S. have a lot more ingredients than just cooking oil, potato, and salt. You think that's only what it would be, but there's like 20 things, other chemicals and ingredients and preservatives. There's like 20 things in a French fry that McDonald's makes here. Now those 20 things are illegal in England. So the French fries at McDonald's in England are just salt, potato, oil. That's it. And they're able to be profitable in England. So anyhow, but that's a whole other rant that I go on. That's a whole other rant. You know how I feel about food and weird chemicals. Blair says, would you actively lend your voice to call for hearings on GMOs? Oh yes, I have, Blair Cooper. I've signed petitions and sent letters and tweeted and all that. So that's one of those things. I mean, there's a lot of people. It's not just me. And it's scary to me that like a food company, food lobbies, go into like a state that has like a no GMO, a state in the U.S. and spend like $70 million lobbying to try and convince people to not like there'll be a something up for voting, like if they're voting on things to pass, you know, Article 27 that allows GMOs to be labeled or not labeled. Just not even saying they're not illegal, but saying they're not legal, but saying they've spent $70 million in individual states lobbying, advertising, lobbying governments, state governments, to not pass laws that would require them to just label the food that it has a GMO or not has a GMO. They don't want you to know. Yes, Marcel. So this must mean a really lot of money for them. David Jones says your pizza regular. It was regular. I didn't see any large sizes, David Jones. As far as I know, they only have, it's kind of like individual size, like, well, or two people size. It's a small pizza. Why call it? No, it's individual size because I did eat an entire one by myself in 2 minutes. Sam says Bernie was in Pennsylvania today. Oh, awesome. Oh, and I just read that Pennsylvania has recently passed a law to allow medical marijuana, which is good news for people that suffer from chronic health. There are several chronic conditions where where they actually, doctors will prescribe a medical marijuana for certain long-term or deadly conditions that people have, that it actually helps. And I forget which those conditions are, but there's some like terminal diseases, different cancers, or like terminal diseases where people are dying and they're in a lot of pain and have, you know, it's pretty miserable. You're going to die and you're going to be in pain for 2 years. So there are conditions like that where a doctor will prescribe, if you're in a state where it's legal, will prescribe a medical marijuana because it takes away the pain or the nausea or whatever the symptoms are. So I'm not sure exactly what all the different, there's several conditions that where it's actually very medically helpful to these people, and they're not trying to get high, they're just trying to like not be in pain until they die. So I don't know if that would help your eyes or not, Sam. Might want to research that. So, and Blair says it helps with, awesome, Blair. Blair's a smarty pants. Blair says it helps with, it's very helpful with chemotherapy, which, as you know, chemotherapy has a lot of miserable side effects. And some people like die from the chemotherapy. They have cancer, but it's very, very hard on your body. So chemotherapy makes you nauseous and sick, and because chemotherapy doesn't just kill the cancer cells, it kills all kinds of cells. Linda says, yes, it made Gerald worse too. So chemotherapy is very difficult, and it's one of those things that is greatly helped with medical marijuana. Glaucoma is one of those things that has helped. Post-traumatic stress, yeah. Oh yeah, yes, you're right, Marcel. I have gone over time. It's 6 o'clock, but well, we didn't do a lot of stupid questions because there's some important things to talk about. That's good, Sam. Well, I don't know if there is a difference, quality, potency, if there's any difference in a medical marijuana as opposed to a regular like street versions, because you can grow different plants to have different strengths. For instance, you've heard about, you know, marijuana, and then there's hemp, which are in the same family. Hemp is a very versatile plant that's been used for hundreds of years to make paper, rope, clothing. It also, hemp is very good for you. Now, they're in the same family, but the difference between hemp and marijuana is there's a THC, and then there's the medical part, and then there's the getting high part of the plant. And there's the two different parts. So in marijuana, the getting high part is very huge, and the medical part is much smaller. In hemp, the medical part, the medical benefit is very big, and the getting high part, the getting high like cells, molecules, chemicals, is very, very small. So hemp doesn't get you high, but it can be very useful for a lot of, like, they put it in like lotions and tonics and stuff like that. So it's got more of the curing, healing stuff, and it is legal because it's recognized by states, legislators, legislatures and stuff, that hemp is a good drug that can be used for a lot of things. It's a plant. It's got an oil, a hemp oil, and that it doesn't get people high. And marijuana is like, they're like cousins as far as like the family tree of of these plants, and so they're cousins, so they're very similar, but they have different qualities. If that makes any sense. But I've got like lotions and stuff like that. Hemp can be made not just paper, clothing. It's very versatile. They can make it. They can distill an oil from it and make like skin healing oils. They can make cosmetics, lotions, and creams that are supposed to be very healing for your body. They can make, like vitamins, pills, and stuff. Oh, that's okay, Marcel. Thank you so much. I'm just about to sign off too. And it's also a fiber that it's used to make paper, rope, clothing, all kinds of things. But they make it. I also use it to make teas and lotions and oils and tinctures. For like you could drink an oil, hemp oil, like you would drink a cod liver oil or a fish, like just a small spoonful. Blair Cooper says, Henry Ford built a car out of hemp that was far better than anything he could produce with steel, but was prohibited to market it. Sam said hemp rope was the best rope for pulling wire years ago. Yeah, they used to use it a lot, and then it fell out of favor because it was associated with marijuana, and it took a long time for it took a long time to like really establish that they're different. Because for a while people thought they were the same, but they're not. They're cousins. If that helps to explain it. There's a good cousin and the bad cousin. Anyhow. It's not really bad, but Blair Cooper says hemp oil is useful as a cancer drug, too. Yes, David Jones says it's just a plant. Well, they're both just plants. Sam said it was rough on his hands. Yes, hemp rope is supposed to be extremely strong. So anyhow, so it is 6:05. So I've gone way over today, but I want to thank you for coming to see me because you're awesome. I will be back tomorrow for Funny Friday, where we share jokes to put everybody in a good mood. Anyhow, let me say goodbye to everybody, to Laura Starr and Shocker and Sturgis Guy and Tesis and House of Dave and Sam and St. Clinton and Eric and Petey and Tim and Ryan and Photo and Philip Chandler and Mark Mean and Star Raven and Angie Thomason, Barry's Lover and Lucky Girl and Asher Yusuf and the Cram and Marcel and Jim Dandy and Sturgis Guy and Bill Knaus and Scott Kimmis and Joe Barney and Red Stapler and John McCain and Blair Cooper and Brett and Terry Sue and N1QOV and Cosmic Joe and Jay Dahlman and Wing Doggy and Sam and St. Clinton and Philip Chandler and make sure I didn't skip anyone. Okay. All right, so I have got, all right. Thank you so much. And anyone else who's watching and I don't know your name, thank you for coming to see me because you're awesome. All right. Bye. I love you guys. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye. And goodbye, Prince. Goodbye, Prince. Thank you for all of the years of your musical genius. Bye.